If you've seen the trailer, then you know the primary reveal in Abigail, and though there's still tons of information for you to learn, part of me wishes I could watch this movie without ever seeing that trailer. I've already made a video on this channel about how trailers will always spoil the movie's story, but I also have to admit that the trailer letting slip that initial premise was what got me interested. Welcome to Sandwich Reviews. I'm the Talking Sentient Sandwich, and despite plenty of spoiler-filled problems that I'll save for later, I thought this movie was a ton of fun. For now, all I'll say is multiple narrative twists and reveals come almost out of nowhere, but that never ruined the viewing experience for me. I wouldn't call the movie horrific or even scary. There's a bunch of blood and CG gore, but other than that, it's light on the horror. However, that is what I was expecting going in, so the cheap jump scares never really bothered me. And another thing I fully expected was a fantastic performance from Alicia Weir, the little girl who played Abigail. And she absolutely nailed everything about that role. One thing I loved about the movie is all the personalities that filled the story. None of the characters were truly three-dimensional, sometimes even being nothing more than a cliché, but the entertainment that the writing draws from each of them interacting with one another was always fun to watch. There are some rules involved with the villain that I questioned, but I think the writers had that in mind and even managed to have fun with that uncertainty. But rather than giving the biggest spoiler about the movie away like the trailer does, I'll just recommend that you check out Abigail if you enjoy gruesome horror comedies. Now, let's talk spoilers. Of course, I'd rather watch the movie and organically figure out that Abigail was a vampire, but I'm not sure I would have even figured that out. Aside from a painting and a statue, there's not much foreshadowing of Abigail's true nature. So when she breaks out of her handcuffs and screams like a monster, it feels like it's completely out of left field. And the characters take a massive leap in assuming the little girl is a vampire. All she did was show a bunch of sharp teeth and lunged at someone's throat. I mean, they were right that she was a vampire. I just thought it would take a little longer to get to that conclusion. Yet part of me is glad that they did, because the following scene where everyone is hashing out what they think the vampire is and how it works is amazing. Does garlic work? No, as it turns out, it does not in this case. The danger that the characters are in reminds me a lot of Ready or Not, a phenomenal horror comedy. From falling into a pile of dirty dead bodies to exploding people, I couldn't help but see a lot of inspiration coming from Ready or Not. Similar to that atmosphere are the kills in the film. When someone is about to die, you can feel it coming. They'll be giving a rousing speech about how they need to trust each other, and if they do that, they might just make it out of there. And when they turn around, they're suddenly missing a head. That's a vague example, and it only happens a couple times, but I loved it each time. While that fun continues into the third act, the last third of the movie kind of fell apart for me, and that's mainly because it's confused about who should be the antagonist. Dan Stevens' character, Frank, becomes a vampire, and it's like a flip switched in his brain, and suddenly he's a psychotic killer. Maybe that's what happens when you become a vampire, or maybe deep down that's who he was all along. I don't think so, but either way, it wasn't explained or foreshadowed in the slightest. The main character and Abigail team up to defeat him, and while that was fun to watch, it wasn't earned. Besides, if the filmmakers wanted Frank to be the ultimate antagonist in the narrative, that should have been set up better. The only story point that suggested that Frank was not who he seemed was that he was working for the bad guy, but all of them were, so I don't know. But then they kill him, and he explodes, and we meet Abigail's dad. And I'm sorry, is he Dracula? He says something like, "I go by many names." And other than the OG, who else could they be talking about? Nosferatu? Who knows? Maybe the movie will make $1 billion and this will spawn another failed Dark Universe franchise, where the guy who played Ozymandias is now playing Dracula. I doubt it, but leave a comment and let me know if you think I'm onto something. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe for weekly videos and reviews, and enjoy a delicious sandwich.